You guys, are we ready?
Whenever you are, man.
All right, well, good mid-morning, everyone. I am Richard Harrington with Vilore Foods. I'm the Central Division Manager, and this is Manny Ortega. He's our Regional Manager out of Texas, and I've been with the company about 16 years. And how long have you been with Vilore?
I've been here about 6 years now, going.
Yeah, so he was just promoted. He came from the Valley in Texas, moved up to Dallas, and
Quite the change.
Yeah, so he's managing our account with AWG, and Jack over there, Jack Jacobs, he's our broker. He manages his business with AWG, and I think we've worked with Crystal Gonzalez. We've worked with her quite a while, so I was in Houston with her, and back in the old days, and so we're here to talk about the growing importance of authentic Hispanic foods. And so how many retailers are in here? We got 1, 2, 3. All right, do you guys have pretty good Hispanic sets in your stores? And I know Alan, right over there, you're working on yours, so hopefully we can help you here. So Vilore Foods, our goal is to really give you a big picture, is to go over the entire category. We don't want to just focus basically on our items all the time. We're here to help you grow this entire category. So it's going to be the La Costeña brand, the Price brands on peppers a little, even though they're our enemies. Then we want to also, help you like with Maseca, La Morena, the other categories that all are associated with the authentic Mexican food set. So Vilore Foods has been around since 1983 in the United States. Our distribution is based out of Laredo, Texas. Our corporate headquarters is in San Antonio. We have multiple divisions there. It's changed up a little bit, but we have the West, we have Central, we have East, and we have our corporate division. And we've got around a little over 1 million square feet in warehouse space in Laredo and Imperial, California. And we consider ourselves the Hispanic category experts. And if you just want to know a little bit of history, La Costeña has been around 100 years as of this year. So we celebrated La Costeña's birthday this year. We also have Jumex, which has been around for 60 plus years now. So both brands, and they're actually both from the same family. The guy who started La Costeña was Vicente Lopez Racines, and then his son started Jumex. So they both are powerful brands in Mexico. They resonate with the Hispanic consumer, and I think you might have had something on this that you wanted to bring up.
Oh, just on the name that you brought up there?
Oh, yeah.
So if you, like Richie mentioned the name, Vicente Lopez Racines, if you take the first 2 letters out of each of those names, that gives you Vilore Foods. So that's where that name comes from.
VI, Vicente L.O. Lopez Racines is the R.E. So a little bit of history there on the brands. All right, so now we know in the United States there's a changing demographic. The Hispanic population is continuing to grow, not only in Texas and California, or the low zone, we call it. It's spreading out like through the Midwest, like where your stores are, and Kansas City, all through here, all the way to New York. So we're seeing the population continue to increase. So by around 2050, Hispanics are going to account for about 25% of the population. As of now, they have a $600 billion purchasing power, and that's going to grow. And if you know, Hispanic Mexican food restaurants, they're everywhere. They're continuing to grow. It's the largest growing format of restaurants. So when you put that in there, and then you have 85% of the non-Mexican restaurants, all of them offer a Hispanic type item. So something's on the menu, whether it's nachos, burritos, tacos, or something. So you have this, so it's continuing to grow. It's very important. They are a very important demographic with a lot of purchasing power. So our goal is to give them the brands that they're looking for. We want to make sure that you guys have the brands that they're looking for, they're in place, and they're set right. So this is the authentic Mexican foods basket, the shopper's basket according to IRI. And as you can see, I'll just say the first one is Mexican food. That indexed the highest. So this is the typical shopping basket. You can see deodorants close to the middle. There's shampoo, Toothpaste, canned meat, and Mexican food was number one, which is going to be canned jalapenos, la costeña, the beans, humex, maseca, la morena, a lot of different items in that category. This is also pretty important here because now not only authentic Mexican food is not only just for the Hispanic consumer, the non-Hispanic consumer is starting to adopt these brands too, and they're putting them on their table. So according to Nielsen and IRI, you can both see the crossover opportunities for Mexican food. You have it right there in the middle with IRI. It's about 8.3%. And then over there is the Nielsen data showing about, I think it's 47% of consumers that are non-Hispanic are also buying authentic Mexican food products. And through us, we found like humex, we've seen some odd flavors with humex being purchased, like pear back in the day. There was guanabana pear that was being purchased by non-Hispanic consumers. So that's why this category is really, really, really important. And if you get it right in your store, you'll build loyalty because the Hispanic consumer is very loyal to who has their brands, you know, so that's what they're looking for. And according to the decision tree, which I didn't go deep enough into a decision tree in this presentation to show you that one of the things towards the end of picking where they shop is who has their brands, and then they pick the retailer, and then they're very loyal to that retailer. So here with Nielsen, so this is only reporting to Nielsen, so this year, this Hispanic category is going to hit about $3 billion. And it's going to be, and that's, you have other retailers that do not report to Nielsen, so these aren't included. So it's got to be about a $5 to $6 billion category right now, just with these type of brands right here. So we want to make sure that you have the right brands in a set. We want to make sure that you have the correct assortment, and we want to make sure that you have the right planogram. And so over here on the side, you can see the authentic Mexican food category and what's in it. You can see that nectars are in there. You can see peppers, salsa, and what percentage each one of them represents within the category. And then the all others is going to be like nopalitos, gelatins, different things like that. So, and this is going to be, this relates to private label. So the thing is, if you go back here with this, all of these brands, Hispanic consumers shop by brand. They don't typically, in the authentic Mexican food, they do not look for private label. They don't want a private label pepper. They don't want a private label nectar. It's been tried, and it's failed. And so there's other brands out there like distributor brands that also launch into the category, and really they kind of kill the category. They go in at a cheaper price. They have a bad product. And so that's what we want to try to get you to avoid, is bringing in the wrong mix of items. So with this, and this dives into the private label. In Mexico, the Hispanic consumer only shops 3% private label. In the U.S., that is a little bit higher. But in the U.S., the Mexican consumer does not shop private label in the authentic Mexican food set. They do shop it in other things. If they're getting green beans, you can pick a private label. If they're getting another type canned item, they will. But within the Mexican food category, they typically go for the brands that they grew up with, which could be Maseca, could be La Costeña, could be Ibarra, you know, those different brands. Everything that resonates with their heritage and culture. And so that's why you want to try to avoid bringing in non-name brands into this Hispanic category. And that's a pretty important thing, because the more you invest in those type of brands and you close off the name brands trying to bring in a price item, it's going to drive that consumer away from that category, and possibly they may look for another retailer that has the brands that they're looking for. And right here, we do have the top brands within the category. So you can see, you want to name some of them off right there? Go through them. And we have, so La Costeña and Humex is in this mix. You have Maseca, you have Herdez, which is salsas. They do have a pepper, but the pepper's not the thing that they really sell. They have salsas. You have Nestle, Cafe Bustelo. So these are the top leading brands within that category. So these are the ones that you do want to have within your set. You wouldn't want to bring in some, you know, some Central American other items unless you have that, you know, demographic in your store. So these are the brands that you would want to target. And we have a stronger list of these brands. This is just touching on the top 10 brands right here. I'm not going to include every brand. So if you do have Cubans or Hispanics, Central Americans shopping in your store, then you can add maybe like Kern's, which Humex owns Kern's, but that's a stronger nectar for Central Americans, or Petite, which is in Florida, and that's basically the only pocket that it sells. It's another nectar. So there's different smaller pockets that you can get some other brands in there, but typically within this region that we're in, you're not going to fall into that category of other demographics. This right here is La Costeña. This is our market share in the United States. So right now we have a 64% brand share. And you can see the other competitors, which we have. There's a blue can of peppers out there that compete with us. There's a couple of others, an orange one. There's San Marcos, there's La Morena, multiple brands, but you can see that they're indexing pretty low as to where our index is. We've got continued growth. Even after COVID, we're continuing to grow our market share. And the reason is because we're focused on this entire category. We want the shopper to shop the entire category. We're not going to focus on one package type. That's typically what these other guys do. We used to focus on 26-ounce whole only. And then we concluded after we continued to do more research on the category that's actually driving the consumer away from the category. They're buying 26-ounce whole, and they're not walking down that aisle anymore. They're going, got 26-ounce whole, I'm done. So our focus became more on variety and assortment, and making sure you have every right package type in that category, and not just in the pepper set, within the salsa set, the bean set, the flour set, the pasta set, the hot sauce, everything. So we'll continue to see, I think we're going to continue to see more growth on that, and it's going to be driven by our 7 and 12-ounce items because of also the crossover opportunities. So that's what we believe is driving our growth, and it's part of also what we do. This is another thing I didn't mention. We really focus on the planograms. We have a lot of, we work with a company that we can build planograms, so we can help with those planograms and give you a generic planogram so you can see what's in the set, what you can get, and how to merchandise it. And this kind of feeds back into what I just talked about. We used to focus only on 26-ounce whole. And back in the early 2000s, when a lot of stores were bringing on Hispanic sets in Texas, what we've seen is this is the entire category of peppers. You have a 7-ounce, you have a 26-ounce, you have a 12-ounce, and a number 10 line of peppers. They put La Costeña in the set, San Marcos in the set, Embasa in the set, Herdez in the set, and then Carré. So we had multiple brands in there. And then the consumer was getting confused because they're looking at the set going, wait, there's a Chipotle, there's a Chipotle, there's a Chipotle. What do I get? So it was causing a little bit of confusion. As the set continued to mature like it is now, this is how La Costeña indexed in the set and still does. So our goal now is to make sure that you have the right assortment and avoid the duplication of too many items. So really you need 2 26-ounce whole items in a set. You need 1 12-ounce brand in a set and maybe a couple of other items that's not within the mix. And then 7-ounce, you only need 1 brand in a set of 7-ounce items. That way you don't invest too much in inventory, you free up more shelf space for other brands, and you're able to satisfy the authentic Mexican consumer. You're able to authentic and the crossover consumer as well. So you can attract a lot more business with this type of set rather than, focusing, like I said earlier, on one package type and then causing confusion with too many brands in the set. So this is what we like to really, really, really focus on now when we work with retailers. And it's working. It's worked. We're doing it in California with Superior, Northgate, and Stater Brothers, and it's really showed a dramatic increase in their sales. There was opportunity gaps within the Nielsen with the rest of the market. And when we switched up their sets, and which I'll discuss in a minute, we did a brand block. Everything shot up. Even the other brands increased. The whole category really increased. This dives into the nectars. And the first portion I did in nectars is part of the beverage category. So We don't consider ourselves mixed in there with the sodas and the mineral waters, but we added it in here on this portion. The Hispanic beverage is 26% of that Hispanic category. It is a $700 million category, and Humex represents about $170 million of that category, along with Kern's in there, and then we've got the electrolyte category too, which we have Humex Hydrolyte in there. But diving a little bit deeper in here, so this is whenever you build a nectar category, this is where you want to focus on the brands that the consumer wants. And Humex is about 77% of that category. And then I think 11% is Kern's, which is continuing to grow. But you can see that the other nectars are really insignificant in this category. They've been tried and tested and really went out there at lower price points and they've always failed. Humex has always tried to maintain a specific price point and a strategy so you can make money off the product. You don't have to run it as a loss leader, and it doesn't look too cheap to the consumer, and it continues to grow. And something that really shocked us was the total. We ran the Nielsen data for the total U.S. juice category, and in units, Humex was number 6 in units there, and it was actually outperforming the category while the category was kind of trending down a little bit. So this shocked us, and so what we're going to do is we're going to try to capitalize on that and make sure that we're, even in some stores you can go in a crossover set or wherever, but there's a need for Humex out there because now more consumers are starting to buy Humex that aren't just authentic Mexican shoppers. This is another important category, the beans, which kind of shocked me because I used to think bagged beans was really, a little bit stronger than they were. But the canned bean category, you have the pouch bean category, then you have an emergent category, the pouch bean category is the emergent category. But the cans represent, I believe it's like 64% of the category here. So cans are a strong, important portion of this category. And just to let you know, it's always good to merchandise cans with salsas. Seems to increase the growth on beans. But so you want to make sure that you have the right mix, and your cans is a big part of this mix. And just going in a little deeper, La Costeña dominates this can category with their beans. We have multiple package types. Consumers are, crossover in both. Everybody is starting to pick up beans, and I think the only reason that we're a little bit lower in this number right here is because we've had so many out of stocks on beans because they're growing. We've had to increase capacity. We've had to move it to Mexico City, back to Faribault in Arizona, and then back to Mexico City. And another strong brand over here is Ducal, and it's a Central American brand, like from Guatemala. So there's some strong pockets that these guys are, selling. So if you're going to put something in your set, I would make sure that I did include both of those brands. And this is probably one of the strongest crossover items in the United States. It's Chipotle peppers. Chipotle peppers, everybody's using a Chipotle. So you have restaurants bringing them in with a mix. You can get a Chipotle chicken burger. You can get Chipotle on your nachos. You can get Chipotle and chili. So you have Chipotle in every aspect of this category and going into the restaurants. So this is something that you want to make sure that you do have in your category. And there's quite a bit. San Marcos does a good job with theirs. They have, a few different diced ones, chopped up, larger cans. We focus mainly on the 12-ounce and the 7-ounce Chipotle, but this is a huge part of this category, and it's actually, I believe it's going to surpass our 26-ounce wholesales for a little 7-ounce can of Chipotle. And here, this is where we want to focus on a brand block. Like I said, I don't have the decision tree in here, but the consumer decision tree for buying peppers is one, the consumer wants to know the occasion, and then they go to the brand. So they pick the brand that they want. And over 80% of the Hispanic consumers right now are conditioned for brand block sets on destination categories. So peppers is a destination category. Like Coke is a destination set, so you see it's brand blocked over there. You see Mexican sodas brand blocked, because those are destination sets. So that's why we really, really focus on trying to make sure that you have the right type of set and merchandise right, brand blocked. It's easier for the consumer to see, and it's a lot more shoppable, and it increases the shopping experience with the consumer. So if they have a pleasurable shopping experience, they're going to come back to your store. And if you offer the right package type. So this is a major focus that we're really big into merchandising. Our strategy on merchandising is to make sure that you have the right package types, you have the right items, you have the right everything. That way you can bring in that shopper, keep that shopper, and then continue to grow your business in the category. And then the other part is we like to work on with all retailers is focusing on an effective display plan. Like I said, we don't want to focus on one package type like the 26-ounce whole. What happens is the shopper typically, and especially if you promote a 26-ounce whole at a low price, what you'll do is you'll drive the consumer away from the category, because once they see, hey, I can get 26-ounce whole over here for 79 cents, I don't need to go to the category. So then they miss the beans, they miss the moussaka, they miss the pastas, they miss the sodas, they miss the salt, everything. The other peppers, you can get glass peppers, chipotle peppers, everything over there. So they'll miss all that. So our strategy here is to work with you guys on making sure you have the right effective display plan that not only drives the consumer around the perimeter of the store, they also shop the center store, and it helps grow adjacent categories as well. So.
And just to add a little something on that, on the growth of the market share, we saw that slide that had our growth throughout the years. We had our biggest growth, which was 16% during COVID, and that kind of illustrated in our minds that our strategy does work, because we saw some of those grocery displays go down during COVID, effective displays went up, Clorox was hot, wipes were hot, essential things like that sort of nature were hot at that time, so that drove the customer to actually go to the aisle and shop more than just that 26-ounce whole that was out on the shelf. So that's why we saw a rise in our market share there.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's what helped drive this strategy too. We were already kind of on that, but that really helped us pick up on it. We partnered up with another big CPG company with a lot of marketing data, asked some questions to consumers on how they shop the category, and so a lot of research was done on the way we merchandise and the effective display planning, and it bleeds into this too, so right here about these price displays. And that will be the end of the presentation. Does anyone have any questions that you would like to ask?
What's your opinion? The question I get asked a lot by retailers is, at what point should they integrate authentic Hispanic products with the mainstream products?
So that's a good question. And we don't recommend integrating. So a lot of stores wanted to do that. Some stores have done it. And what they're finding out now that this, the adoption of non-Hispanic consumers shopping the aisle, is you have people coming in looking for that aisle now that are non-Hispanic. So they're looking for it. And if you get mixed up in other categories, you won't find the product. So what they're doing is you need to keep it segregated, make it a destination set, keep it to one aisle. And
Would you recommend, let's just say you go into the aisle, consumers going down, and they see the Tex-Mex section.
Mhm.
But do you see any tagging on? In other words, you got Tex-Mex here, then you've got your authentic. You kind of going down that same aisle as a destination aisle, rather than trying to go to two places.
yeah, that works. I mean, that's what a lot of retailers do. Yeah.
It's kind of a
Yeah.
different type of integration. It's not actually going into the set, but it has that.
It's right there in the same aisle.
aesthetic
Yeah.
Food, they see Tex-Mex, oh, I can get authentic, and here it is right here.
Yeah. Yeah, so we are working with a retailer out of California who kind of integrated everything, and they want to bring it back to one aisle. And you can put it like with Tex-Mex. I mean, a lot of the stores that I go into, it's already set. There's Tex-Mex, then you just go right into the import section of it. So you want to keep it down one aisle. You don't really want to integrate it. And the other thing is one, because the non-Hispanic shoppers that are looking for, those brands so that they can make their Taco Tuesday or Enchilada Wednesday, whatever they're going to do. or celebrate Cinco de Mayo. That's, just lost my train of thought, but that's what, the focus is, to make sure you want to keep it on aisle, because it'll get lost in the other sets. And then you could probably drive down that category if you just, integrate.
Are there any other retailers that you know of that have, the reason I ask is sometimes I walk into a Walmart and I see that they're trying to integrate,
Yeah.
and I don't know if that's just their strategy or.
So some of the Walmarts in stronger Hispanic pockets do have one aisle. And then sometimes they do, like you're saying, integrate some stuff over there. Walmart's a different animal. Let's hope they don't get it right. So that's my whole, I don't want them to get it right, So they're not getting it right, and that's what I like, and don't want them to get it right. So,
And I was gonna point out too, Vilore participates in the EDLP program, so make sure you're looking at the order guide, with the contributions from AWG, our bill back. It's key for you to get to that price point, make sure you're reflecting the allowances in order to be competitive. So we just wanna make sure that we are seeing that and implementing that as well. Also, effective now, because everything we have Fernando up and running, whether it's coming from Fernando or it's coming from the divisions, it's all line price at a 3% markup, and it also goes against catering.
Correct, it's patronage eligible now, and for those UPCs, for a long time, Village and DNC had a different item code than AWG. Now it's one item code if they were in both places. So one code, patronage eligible, all 3% markup.
all right. Yeah, and talking about TPRs and allowances, so Costeña, we don't want to be, so our strategy is not to be the lowest priced pepper out there. We want to be right kind of, at a positioned in the middle, because the brand, we don't want to degrade the brand. I know there's other brands out there that go out there really cheap on 26-ounce whole, and their whole focus is that. So we've built a lot of loyalty just off of being, priced where we are, because the decision tree for peppers, price is at the bottom of that thing. So brand is always first, and then as you go down that decision tree, right there at the bottom is price. And you have two shoppers. You're going to have a premium shopper and a price shopper. The premium shopper typically is always going to buy the name brand. The price shopper, like me, half the time, I'm going to go in there and look for something, cheap, because I think I got too many kids I got to pay for. So, yeah. But that's typically the way this consumer shops, is brand first, price is going to be last. And price is actually going to come before, I believe, the retailer. So it's driven off brand. Any other questions?
Good.
I wish I knew more about dairy back there for you, because I know you're working on your dairy too. But yeah. So I would say Lala in the dairy, the cleaning, the chlorine bleach.
Right.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
All right, well, if there's no more questions, we will conclude this session.
There we go. Thank you, Richard.